Hi everyone, this is Molly from EGM, and I recently had a chance to play a new extended demo version of Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I did get a chance to go hands-on with it at E3 and play a battle or two, I think it was, but this was an extended look that let us get more hands-on with the combat, see some of the different options, really get to play with the character choices and the skill tree, and even see a new world. So my video today is going to run through a lot of different things. You're going to see, like, for example, right here, this is the reach area battle type, where a lot of what we've seen so far has been kind of defeat all of the enemies on the field. This battle type is more, you just need to get one of your characters to that kind of big yellow area that you just saw, and that's the whole goal of this. So you know, like many people, as we kind of watch this battle, and there's not going to be a whole lot of things at this point that you haven't seen. This is just getting a different view of some of the other, you know, stuff that you're going to be playing. Like a lot of the people, when I initially heard the idea of Mario and Rabbids coming together, it seemed really, really weird, and I didn't really know how that was going to work, and I may have even kind of thought it was just a stupid idea that shouldn't happen. And I can say that now because, of course, I was wrong, and because, you know, so many other people out there also thought the same thing, so it's not like I'm alone in this. But, you know, then we had the Ubisoft E3 press conference, and so many of us were kind of taken aback by just how neat this game looked and how interesting it was. And now getting the second chance to play more of it and see some of the later things and even some things that I can't show you today, I am feeling even more confident now that this is going to be a really interesting game. You know, of course, it's going to be a question, I think, with this kind of game is, you know, how does it hold up in the long run? And you'll see later that offhand there's, what, 8 characters? Because there's Mario, Peach, Luigi, Yoshi, and then Rabbid versions of them. And I guess the question is, excuse me, is that going to be enough character choice? Because I feel like, you know, in a lot of strategy games, at least in this era, we either get a really deep roster of characters, like, you know, lots and lots of choices, or the choices we have are very, very different. And even though you'll see, kind of as I go through this game, that the characters do play differently, you know, it's still hard, like, mentally to think, okay, Peach and Rabbid Peach are really two very, very different characters, or Luigi and Rabbid Luigi are very different, you know, when they are in some ways. But it's I think one of the concerns, if I have concerns at this point, is that I kind of wish there were maybe looking to be a couple more character choices, and I think too part of that problem might be just we get so used to games like a Mario Kart or Smash Brothers or whatever, where we have lots and lots of choices, and going from those kind of games to one with 8 does feel a little bit limiting. But, you know, that aside, and the question that we can't answer yet, which is, of course, you know, is this game going to hold up in the long run? Because it's really hard for any game, you know, that is kind of different than what we've had before, to really judge, you know, is that idea going to last for 1 hour, 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, 100 hours sometimes. But, you know, those questions aside, like, just every bit of Mario Rabbids that I've had a chance to play has made me more and more excited for it. And this is coming from somebody who, you know, if you read much of EGM, you would know that I am not a huge Mario fan. So, you know, even coming at it with, like, no major attachment to these characters, like, it's still a really interesting idea, and this is something that truly does feel unique and kind of a little bit special, and it's really neat to see just how much kind of care and attention that Ubisoft seems to be putting into this game. So if you're somebody who somehow has seen absolutely nothing about Mario Rabbids, this is your very, very first video or information about it, you know, you can kind of see that. So like many strategy games, and this is compared a lot to XCOM especially, there is like the hero turn and the enemy turn, and on the hero's turn, they can do 3 things. They can move, they can use their weapon, and they can use a special ability. And there is no rule saying which of those you have to do in which order. It's basically, once you do it, you use that up, and then what you haven't used up, you can still do. You know, so for this one, it's a lot of just moving, and then maybe attacking, or not attacking. But you'll see in some of the later combat footage I have in here that there are times when it makes sense to, you know, move everybody into position and then attack, or perhaps attack and then kind of get your characters out of the way, you know, or a variety of things. There comes to be deeper strategies. I think it's easy at first to kind of just think of the game as move, character, attack, move, character, attack, move, character, attack, and things like that. So there really is, from what I've played and what I seem to find, a deeper depth to that all. So anyway, as you've seen here, I'm going through the kind of battle clear screen. So once you're done with a match, or the kind of collection of matches, like here you see that I've been through 2 so far, it'll rate you on how many turns it took you to get through the battle according to what they expect, and if your characters are all still alive and things like that. And now we're seeing the character select screen. Like I was saying earlier, there are currently 8 characters. It's very obvious that the hidden one on there is just regular Yoshi. And you can see that every character has different stats in terms of like health and their movement and things like that. And then also different main attacks and sub attacks and kind of special abilities and things like that. So I ended up going with Mario, Peach, and Yoshi, Rabbid Yoshi. And I'm not certain if you can actually take Mario out of the party or not. When I was playing, I couldn't figure out a way to do it, but maybe I just didn't you know, discover the option, or maybe that just for the preview build, that was not a choice. Maybe something comes on later. I don't know for sure, though. And then this is, of course, is a skill tree, and you can see that every character has these 4 different options in the skill tree: movement, attack, technique, and other. And the little dots show you how many times each one can be leveled up. So if you, for example, spend, you know, like that one we just saw a second ago, for real quick, it was where, like, if you spend 30 of the kind of upgrade points, you get the first level right there. And then 50 upgrade points is the second level, and then, you know, each level kind of like adds more bonus to that. So you can kind of go through here and, you know, pick either your favorite characters, or try to balance out between everybody, and, you know, up each character in those certain ways that you really want them to be upped. A good example of that is, you know, if you've seen any of the footage, and I think I can't remember if I did it earlier in the previous fight. You'll see it coming up, though. There's a kind of a slide attack that characters can do before they actually stop and then do a main attack. And one of the benefits Rabbid Yoshi has is that he can slide through multiple enemies in his same turn. Typically you can do it through one, but he can do it through multiple. And by upgrading that ability of his, he can then add how many, like he can do 3 enemies or 4 enemies or 5 enemies. And, you know, so other characters, like Mario has a head stomp, and I think, if I remember correctly, the head stomp, it gets like additional damage for levels. Don't quote me on that. I'm not remembering offhand, but, you know, there are a variety of kind of ways you can upgrade your characters. And then you just saw the kind of red coin thing that we know from, you know, previous Mario games. I found all the coins, and then I unlocked a new long-range weapon for Peach, and that's going to be the Brunhilde right here. and you can see kind of the stat upgrades on that. So if you want, you can go ahead and use coins to buy it and then equip it. So I don't remember offhand the name of this world, but as you can obviously tell, this is World 3, and so this is very, very different from the first world. You know, the first world felt very typical and traditional Mario, kind of the, you know, the green land, blue skies, bright, happy colors, kind of a lot of like the familiar bricks and grass and other kind of textures and styles. Whereas this is, you know, a darker, spookier thing that maybe then brings in some other familiar Mario enemies and characters that would fit on a stage like this, that we're going to meet in just a minute here. So this is another reach area battle. And by the way, in the lower left corner, you see there is an easy mode option, so that, you know, I know I saw it in, like, for example, here, where when you're going into a battle, if you decide that just it's going to be too much for you, you can, you know, switch to an easier mode and get through it. Or I also saw that show up when I was fighting a boss, because there was a certain boss where I was trying to learn things about it, and so I kept wanting to restart and try again, because I'm very picky about wanting to get everything right in a certain order when I'm trying stuff like that. So I also know it came up at that point, kind of thinking that, you know, the game was probably thinking that I was having trouble, and so it offered up the easy mode option there too. So anyway, you can see these are kind of, you know, more spooky Halloween themed enemies, darker kind of stage, but still some elements that we saw from the first world. Some new kind of enemies with like armor. And then, of course, the booze, where the enemies can pick up the booze. And I never completely figured out everything the boo did for the enemy. You know, it's some sort of, like... I couldn't figure out if it was, like, kind of, like, protecting them from dying or giving them a boost or things like that, but... And you see kind of the zombie Rabbids that can come out of the ground here. And then, of course, special block down there. And so you'll see here, by the way, I think you're going to see here where, yeah, Rabbid Yoshi can do the multiple slide I was talking about earlier. And I'm not going to show you this entire fight. I just wanted to kind of show you a little more complex fight than we had for the first one that I showed off. And just kind of showing you guys in this style of stage. Because you can see there, now you see there that Mario wouldn't do a second slide because he doesn't have that ability to, but you're going to see he can do a kind of traditional Mario head stomp. So I'll slide in the guy, jump off Rabbid Yoshi, do the head stomp, and then land there. So there is some really neat, like, comboing, you know, and the thing is when I kind of saw this game for the first time and the reveal, I was like, man, does that make it kind of cheap, you know? Because you can do a bunch of slides and extra stuff. But as you go through, you kind of learn that the enemies have similar kind of tricks up their sleeve. And so it's a game that I think anybody can play and try to get into. You know, it's not just for, like, hardcore strat players, but there are also, at least from what I've been seeing, a lot of little things in the game that can make it more complex if you want it to be. You know, I mean, technically you could just go through it and make it kind of, you know, very simple in terms of the moves and actions you do and stuff. And we're going to see Peach's crazy shotgun that gets me in a little trouble later on. And she can hit, like, you know, targets she did not mean to hit with that gun because of how big a spread is. And one of the reasons I was using her is that she has this really interesting healing ability, but in order to use it, it's kind of like an area effect. So it kind of heals like anybody in the area, but in order to use that, you actually have to jump off of another teammate's head, and then when she lands is when she does the healing ability, which is kind of neat. And you will swear at times that like the enemy has crazy range when they move, and also when they attack. Like there's some attacks like when I was first, like this one for example, like it did take me a few turns to really get it in my head that you know that far of an attack can happen. And if you're wondering, that kind of like weird staticky noise in the background, that's just a problem with the build. You know, this is a preview build. The game's still not done yet. They're working on it. So there's her healing, by the way. Just so working on it, so when you hear that kind of scratchy background, that's just the kind of the version that we got to play that day. Not the final game or anything. And some weapons are definitely better than others when it comes to, you know, getting rid of cover very quickly. I think, as I said before, you can change characters at any time, and you can change characters in any position of having done things or not done things. So, you know, for example, here where I moved Mario, if the game was still going, I could have moved Mario, you know, left him where he ended up, and then switched back to other characters and done things with them, and moved and attacked and stuff. And so by the way, I got Rapid Yoshi killed during that fight, so that's why and I took too many turns, I think, so my score was pretty bad. So here's a little sample of a cutscene, and then or a story kind of scene, and then a puzzle. So there are puzzles in the game. You know, there are times it's not just battle, 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 battle. They are trying to put other things in the game. For example, what we're going to see right here. I'm assuming that's like for later, that you'll get an item or something that you can use it for. So I haven't done the video, but I learned earlier on this world that you can pick up these gravestones and put them onto those colored blocks to kind of press down the button and make things happen. So, you know, this is a very traditional video game type of puzzle where you have a kind of light beam coming out, and whichever colors of blocks are raised or lowered is going to change which mirrors the light beam is hitting. So I open that, I get a second gravestone, which now gives me even more combinations of things to raise and lower. And for anybody wondering, you know, there is like a brief little intro period where it is strange to play the game by controlling this kind of little robot Roomba-looking thing instead of, like, you know, Mario himself or one of the rabbits or something like that. But you get used to it pretty quickly. That opened the gate, and we get a message now. So there is a cryptic character that is sending you messages throughout the game, and we did not play enough to get anywhere near figuring out who it might be, but they start off very kind of friendly and supportive and stuff, and then a little bit of sinister nature starts coming out in them the further you get. A reference very near and dear to my heart as a big Peanuts fan. So coming out here, we're going to see a different kind of puzzle. And before you wonder, like the video you're seeing here, I did play it like 3 times before this to kind of get a feel for what I was doing. So it's going to seem like I'm really like instantly on the ball as to what to do here, but I had tried it before. You know, it's just a case of, like, I knew what to do at a certain point, but I would, like, just screw one little thing up and, you know, lose a second or two, and that would be it for me. And then, as you're gonna see here, my brain just completely shut down for a moment, and I had no ability to think about how to get to that treasure chest. Until it finally dawns on me that it's a very, very simple solution. If I just, you know, backtrack. And again, it takes me a moment to figure out what in the world I'm doing. So finally, for this video, I am going to show you co-op mode. So this is kind of a 2-player, 2-team battle. So each player gets to pick 2 different characters, and then, at least in this stage, it splits up the characters and you have to kind of get everybody back together. I mean, you don't have to, but that's kind of what our plan ended up being. And so on this stage, literally we have to just kill 15 enemies, and then we win. And there are more enemies than you need to, you know, take out. At least on this stage there was. So it's an interesting idea because, as you'll see in a moment, at any time you can switch back and forth between players. So like this is player 1. This is not me. This is another person that was at the event, and he was sitting next to me, so we kind of ended up getting team together. So as you can see, you can switch to team 2 or switch to the enemy turn. And so he switched to me. I have Peach here, so I can take a turn, or I can switch to Yoshi. And now at this point, I can do however much I want to do as long as I'm just using my 1 turn. So, you know, I could I could move and attack and special ability with all my characters, or I could move one character and then switch back to player one so that he can do something, and then we can go back and forth and back and forth. So there is an interesting dynamic, but I will tell you the problem, and that is that if you are like me and you... How do I want to put this? If you're very stubborn, kind of in your being sure that you know what you're doing, then it can be tough because you really do have to work together on this. You know, so coming into this, my partner was kind of giving me some advice on what he wanted me to do with my turn, you know, and I was more kind of the leave me alone and let me figure that out because I know what I'm doing here. So there is the potential to kind of have a little bit of I don't want to say a rivalry, but a little bit of tension in your team going on, because if both people think they have the right strategy and those strategies are different, then you could end up having some arguments pretty easily. Especially for a strategy game too, you know, because I think a strategy game, more than some other genres, players definitely have their own kind of specific way of playing. You know, you have your own style and your own idea of how to take turns and how to move your characters and how to set things up. You know, are you more just gung-ho, go get them, or are you more kind of hold back and take them out one at a time? So it's an interesting addition, and this was playing on one Switch, and we were doing it with we each had 2 Joy-Cons in the kind of little the shell to make it an actual controller. So we each had our own of that, and I believe you can also use just like a singular Joy-Con, but I'm not 100% positive. You're gonna see us win here very shortly. I didn't think I was gonna be able to do that, by the way. Like, I thought that was... I did not think that was gonna hit. And you can see more enemies, more rabbits coming soon, but we won't need them. Because I think this guy we're about to take out here is the last one we needed. I guess we need 2 more.
I'm a winner.
Yeah, I don't think I missed both. I can't remember if I just hit him and not look back on here. I can't remember. We'll find out. Because her gun is really scary. Like, you realize that because most of the other guns are kind of like singular row, more basic kind of guns, and so you'll just like shoot away. But then you have to remember with her that she has this really gigantic spread shotgun type weapon, and so you can't just shoot at everything.
Oh yeah, golden.
See, I just hit Luigi there, I think. But does it matter? Because we won? So that's how kind of, co-op mode works. If that's what you're down for. And that's my hands-on with Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. It is coming out August 29th of this year for the Switch. And it's really neat, and I enjoyed it, and I hope you do too. Anyway, this is Molly from EGM, and thanks for watching.